Welcome back, folks, to Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt Doduro. And this is episode 19. We're excited to have Gil Lamarche. Dr. Gil, thank you so much for coming on.
Happy to be here with you, Dr. Matt. It's a pleasure.
I was lucky enough to hear you speak recently at an event, and I thought the information you covered was very insightful, and it was a history lesson that our listeners and viewers should learn about. But first, please tell a little bit about your background. You've been a chiropractor 40 years.
40 years. I graduated from the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College back in 1979. I practiced in Canada for 25 years. Retired for 2. That's a story in itself right there. A wonderful healing story for me when I was told in 2003 that I had 2 years to live. But obviously we're 2019 and I'm still here, so that's good news.
You're still doing
right?
it. And you can hear his health story on YouTube and just Google your name.
Yeah, if you Google Dr. Gilles Lamarche, Gilles, and family name Lamarche, you can find my health story on Google. Yes, you can.
It's a wonderful story and really a testament to persevering. And that's what it's about. In this podcast and radio show, we really try to find people to become their own advocates for their conditions. They have to become their own health experts and really do the research and find the right team to put together. And that's what you did. So, I mean, we could do an hour on that. It's a wonderful story, and I don't want to downplay it at all. But we're really excited today because recently we touched on a topic about Chester Wilk versus the AMA.
Yes,
and Dr. Chester Wilk was a young chiropractor in the middle of Ohio. And
Illinois.
Okay,
yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Illinois.
You're the expert.
Not quite the expert. I'll tell you, I got a lot of my facts from one of our old-timer chiropractors. See, I'm 40 years. I still don't see myself as an old-timer yet. But Dr. Lou Sportelli gave me a lot of insight because he was directly involved with that case.
Was he really?
He was.
He's a good man. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit about it, how it happened, and what was the...
What's interesting is that, and most people in society, and many people even in the chiropractic profession don't even know, but in 1963, the American Medical Association created a committee, what they initially called the Committee on Quackery, later called the Committee on Chiropractic, and they had one single goal: to contain and eliminate the chiropractic profession. And you think, wow, how could that be possible? Important also to know that it was covert. Nobody knew, it was underground, and they put together a team and a system of individuals in the association that would go about and plan how that could happen. Well, years later, somebody found out. We can talk a little bit how that happened, and the Wilkes case was born from that, but many, many years later. So if we look at 1963, as I say, nobody knew. I have a copy of a letter here that's dated January 4th, 1971, going to the Committee on Quackery from the Committee on Quackery to the Board of Trustees of the American Medical Association. And there's a line that I underlined here, actually an entire paragraph, if I can read it. He says, since the AMA Board of Trustees' decision at its meeting on November 2nd to 3rd, 1963, to establish a committee on quackery, your committee has considered its prime mission to be first, the containment of chiropractic, and ultimately the elimination of chiropractic. Your committee believes it is well along in its first mission and is, at the same time, moving towards the ultimate goal. This, when might be considered a progress report on the development in the years, the committee has not previously submitted such a report because it believes that to make public the same of its activities would have been and continues to be unwise, though this report is intended only for the information of the Board of Trustees. This is an actual copy of a letter that was leaked in a report a number of years later and caused the movement of the Wilkes case.
Wow. Those are fighting words.
They are fighting words because,
those are...
this is a letter, like I said, 1971. They started the committee in 1963, and here's a communication from the committee to actually the Board of Trustees of the American Medical Association.
And, chiropractic started in 1895, September 18th. We've been around nearly 125 years now.
That's correct.
And, even with things like this, it's tough to keep us down. Results speak for themselves. And that's what the the consumers have pushed for this, and they don't want drugs. They don't want to always take a pill. They don't always want to turn to the medicine cabinet. So this is important stuff that I know that our young chiropractic students and our young doctors and even a lot of our listeners have never even heard of. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is
fact, because it went on to a hearing, obviously, and I can read you some information on it right here if we continue to talk about this. But
tell us. So, I mean, the actual case was argued.
It was argued, and the verdict was rendered in 1987. Okay. But there's all sorts of things that happened along the way.
So let's give us a little time.
So, in 1966, Dr. Sportelli wrote to the AMA seeking information on chiropractic. He said, I wanted better literature, and he got back the pamphlet, Chiropractic, the Unscientific Cult. And still today, 53 years later, he says he still has the booklet. In 1968, Congress was to conduct a study to include chiropractic services under medical care. Wow, that was a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But little did we know what was really going on, because what was really going on is that even though Congress was thinking of expanding the bill, the AMA, Committee on Quackery, was behind it, and they were doing whatever they had to do to contain it. And so what they did is that they actually planned the results of the inquiry before it ever happened, and Congress never found out. So they were not given a good bill of health as it relates to chiropractic. They were given one that was very, very negative, when in fact none of the facts were reported. So it was all negative.
It was already predetermined.
Oh yeah, it was completely fixed. What Dr. Sportelli wrote, he said Congress was never told that the results of the study had been concluded 5 months before the study even commenced, and that the AMA had secretly coached the members of the panel as to what they should say, so that their mandate of containing, eliminating the chiropractic profession was, sort of well underway.
Mm-hmm.
But as we know, you and I, we know that chiropractors are very vibrant, sort of excited people. And when you see the results in your practice, even though people on the outside may say, oh, I don't believe in chiropractic, you get to the point where you don't have to believe in chiropractic. Whether you believe it or not, it works.
Yeah.
And those that get the care when care is required get the benefits. And our best ambassadors have been our patients. They become the best spokespeople for the profession.
We have a saying here, in God we trust, all others bring data.
Exactly.
And, people like Don Harrison from the Ideal Spine and Chiropractic Biophysics, they're the ones that have been in the trenches for the last 40 years, documenting what that ideal spinal model, as I sit up straight and look at my posture. But that's so important. Like we said, there's a normal blood pressure, 120/80. There is a normal position for our spine to be in. So I think the more we understand that, we have these baselines to go from. But go on, it gets better.
Oh my God, it just continues. Because we write, he writes 50 years later, we're still fighting the same battle. So this writing's pretty small, but it's important to understand that the bill introduced to Congress focuses specifically on modifying the eliminating statute that defines physician under Medicare. And so still today, 50 years later, they're still attempting to contain the chiropractic profession when it comes to bills in Congress. The story was amazing because in 1969, as we go through some historical facts here, Dr. Stephen Barrett, a medical doctor, psychiatrist, who at some point lost his license, was involved in the committee to fight quackery, and he started something called quackwatch.org. And we later found out that who his backers were. And in this particular article, he talks about, how we began in December 1969. A small group of health professionals began to attack health quackery, local medical, dental, et cetera, mostly focused on chiropractic. He says several of the professional societies endorsed our group and donated money to help the Lehigh Valley Committee Against Health Fraud, Inc. The medical society allowed us to use its office equipment until we obtained our own. We incorporated to make it clear that we were independent of sponsoring organizations. As we attracted, publicity, we received financial support from individuals, mainly health professionals, mainly the American Medical Association.
Wow.
So there was another sort of covert operative, if you like, that was taking place. Reader's Digest, which back in the day, in the 60s and 70s, was the publication of choice for so many people to read. And in 1971, shockingly, a horrible article appeared in the Reader's Digest talking about the government wasting money on providing coverage for chiropractic in Medicare. And though it was one of the most credible magazines, it had an audience that believed in what they were saying. So again, was another stop in the potential growth of chiropractic.
I remember Reader's Digest on my grandmother and grandfather's desk or in their living room, and this next segment we'll get in a little deeper and talk about how Chester Wilk and a couple other young doctors really fought David versus Goliath, and we'll chat more about that in just a second. Welcome back, folks, to Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt Duro. And today we have Dr. Gil LaMarche out of Ontario, Canada.
Yes,
all the way down.
But living here in Atlanta as the Vice President of University Advancement Life University.
We have to, big shout out to my alma mater. I graduated in December of 1994, and I love that school and what it's done for me personally and our profession. And, we're going to get back to the Chester Wilk case and what happened in the 70s. But to this day, Doc, I mean, what is our numbers for the current population that actually seeks chiropractic care? Do you have any idea?
You know what? It depends who you talk to. It depends in what state, what province in Canada, et cetera. But it will range anywhere from 7 to like 12 to 14%.
Yeah, we've never hit more than that 11 or 12%.
No, I don't. We have not hit critical mass, but I believe we're relatively close to hitting critical mass.
17% would be the.
Yes.
That's what they say. That's the tipping point.
The tipping point is about 17%. And I believe that I'm going to certainly see that in my lifetime. I think we're going to see it in this decade.
Good. Well, and we're talking about the Chester Wilk. So in the 70s, there was some collusion going on with the AMA and the Quack Watch that was run by Dr. Stephen Barrett, who had lost his license and was a psychologist. And so go ahead. They did something in Ann Landers. Tell us a little bit about that.
They used every part of the media that they could utilize to actually discredit chiropractic. So, back in the day, Ann Landers was, the most famous syndicated columnist, and everybody read Ann Landers like every day. That's just the things that people did when they read the paper. And so she wrote an article called "Chiropractic is Poppycock." I actually have a copy of the article, and important to remember that the profession didn't know about the Committee on Quackery, right? But these systematic hits by consumer publications that attacked the profession, they were planned, they were extremely well executed, and you know what? They were effective in speaking to the public, even though they were untruths, and they were devastating to the chiropractic profession, and unfortunately devastating to a lot of people who never sought chiropractic care because they thought it was poppycock, as Ann Landers saw it. So people listened to Ann, and she wrote this article,
Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. In 1974 is the article that I have. And then in 1975, the Consumers Report, again, a very important publication of the day, in their September and October issue, they did a 1-2 punch. And chiropractors, healers, or quacks.
That was in 1975.
1975, that was the article. And they said the entire anti-chiropractic program of the AMA published by Consumer Magazine. That
was like the Yelp back in 1975.
Yeah.
So everybody would go there to find out what products they were going to buy. I did not realize how devastating that could have been.
So we say, was it a coincidence or was it part of the AMA's strategy? And, it was discovered it was part of the AMA's strategy. Back in the day, nobody knew. They wondered, why are they doing that to us? But nobody knew. So then comes 1974-75, sore throat. Sore throat is a man who actually recorded an audio using some audio diversion technique to blow the whistle, basically, on what the AMA was doing.
Just like Deep Throat during the Watergate and the Nixon era.
Yep.
There was a sore throat.
Referred to as sore throat. 1974-75. In 1976, October, Chester Wilk and 4 other chiropractors filed suit against the AMA, and it was called the Wilk suit. Also named many of the nation's other prominent medical groups as co-defendants. So not only did it lodge a suit against the AMA, it lodged a suit against the American Hospital Association, American College of Surgeons, American College of Physicians, and the Joint Commission on Accreditation of Hospitals. And the suits that the defendants participated for years was that there was an illegal conspiracy to destroy the chiropractic profession.
Wow.
1987,
Boom.
finally, get a verdict from a judge, Dr. Susan, I can never pronounce her name, but Getzendanner. Following 11 years of legal action, a federal appellate court judge ruled that the AMA had engaged, and this is quotations, in a lengthy, systematic, successful, and unlawful boycott designed to restrict cooperation between medical doctors and chiropractors in order to eliminate the profession of chiropractic as a competitor in the United States healthcare system. During the proceedings, it was shown that the AMA attempted to undermine chiropractic schools, undercut insurance programs for chiropractic patients, conceal evidence of the effectiveness of chiropractic care. Important one here, subvert government inquiries into the effectiveness of chiropractic care, promote other activities that would control the monopoly that the AMA had on healthcare. This was upheld by the 7th United States Circuit Court of Appeals. And so we thought in 1987, this must be over.
Just about when I'm entering the chiropractic scene, by the way, boys and girls out
Exactly.
there.
And I've been in practice now 8 years. We thought, whoa, what a great battle to win. It's continued. It has yet to stop. I lived in Texas during 2012, 2013, and there was a chiropractor, Mike Vandelwall, running for the House of Representatives, and he was literally blindsided by the Texas Medical Society and their opposition to his running for office. And it's sad, but I'm going to show you an ad that was published, and I was so upset being a chiropractor. But the ad...
You could show it for our viewers.
The ad... Oops, where am I going here? There we go.
Which camera?
And I'll read some of it for you. But the ad in newspaper, I think it was in the Dallas News and others, said, quack, quack, quack. If a political candidate looks like a duck and quacks, beware. And there they were trying to undermine this chiropractor's bid for office. And they won. They spent a lot of money to undermine him. So here we are in 2019. We know a lot of information, and we see so much evidence that chiropractic is effective. There's phenomenal research coming out of multiple countries outside the United States, including New Zealand, led by Dr. Heidi Havoc, who's a chiropractor and a PhD in neuroscience, Dr. Stephanie Sullivan, who's the director of research at Life University, who's also a chiropractor. Yeah, she was a student when you talked there. She's also a chiropractor, and a year or so ago got her PhD in neuroscience. And all sorts of people doing fantastic work that is showing the effectiveness of chiropractic. There was a study published in the 80s in Canada called the Mango Report. The Ontario government, the Ministry of Health there, actually hired Dr. Pran Manga, who is an epidemiologist from the University of Ottawa, and asked him to study chiropractic. And what they were hoping was that he would find that chiropractic was ineffective. To the contrary, he found that chiropractic was extremely effective, and the only little niche market they were looking at the time was low back pain. And what Dr. Manga said is that if the government fully funded chiropractic care, they would save, after the spending, they would save approximately $500 million per year on the cost of low back pain alone. And the report was shelved because it wasn't what they were expecting to get. Wow. And so that kind of stuff continues, you know?
And 80% of the population is going to suffer some type of debilitating low back in their lifetime. I believe spinal injuries cost our country over $90 billion a year.
Oh, in excess.
In excess.
In excess of that. I don't have the figures in my mind, but I remember reading it's over $100 billion a year.
I mean, and
that's direct cost.
Direct cost.
That's not cost of lost time at work, the impact it has on the family, the impact it has on careers, et cetera.
You know, I remember in 1994, and I'll bring up Hillary Clinton was our first lady, and she was working with the Health and Human Services, and she found that chiropractic was very beneficial, and she was pushing for it back in the mid-90s to be part of our solution to this low back injuries that we were having across the country. And unfortunately, all the work she did for 3 or 4 years actually got sidelined. They never
Somewhere
really put it.
disappears. I mean, even now with the opioid crisis, which is the worst healthcare crisis to ever happen in the United States, not only looking at the cost, but looking at the number of deaths directly associated with opioid use. And we know that the number one reason why people use opioids is low back pain. So even in that narrow niche market where chiropractors are very, very effective, and chiropractic is effective way beyond low back pain, but if we're talking just about that, the effect that chiropractic would have as the number one non-pharmacological approach to helping these people is huge. And some governments are even stating that that's important and that chiropractic needs to be included. So we're still fighting the fight. We're fighting the battle, and our goal is to be patient-centered. What is in the best interest of the patient that we're caring for? What's in the best interest of humanity? What's in the best interest of the people of the United States and every other country in the world?
In the algorithm of healthcare, I mean, you start with less costly, less invasive, and you move into more invasive. And unfortunately, I just was home in my hometown, and I saw my lacrosse coach, Jack McDonald, and he woke up, listen to this, woke up with a stiff neck about 2 weeks ago, and within 10 days, they were doing cervical surgery on him.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, before they had tried anything, alternative, acupuncture, chiropractic, physical therapy, I don't care. But the numbers are staggering when we're talking about this prescription drug epidemic and opioid. We're losing 1,000 U.S. citizens per week.
I know.
We're losing
Sad.
the war on drugs. And I saw some staggering numbers. 75% of all medications produced in the world are consumed by 4% of the United States population. 80% of all hydrocodone produced and consumed right here in the States. 90% of OxyContins that are produced in the world are consumed here. I mean, it's gentlemen like you that are out there educating our community, and I really appreciate everything you're doing out there. Where do you, in closing, what can we do locally to make a difference?
I think the most important thing we do is continue to tell the truth. And the more good research we have that meets the standard of evidence, the better off we are. And I know in the chiropractic profession, like I said, we have a lot of great evidence, but we need more. And you said it earlier on. I mean, data is king, right? Everything else is anecdotal. So I say we keep teaching the message. We keep teaching society that there is a better way and there is a better approach to being healthy. And it starts by taking personal responsibility and doing your research.
That's important. And really, Life University, keep putting out fine data.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today, Doc.
Thank you so much.